أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 66, Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 148 to 162. لا يحب الله الجهر بالسوء من القول. Allah does not like the public mention of evil. إلا من ظلم, except by one who has been wronged. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ سَمِيعًا عَلِيمًا, and ever is Allah hearing and knowing. لا يحب الله. Allah does not like this action. Allah does not like these words. Allah disapproves of a person who does such and such. What? Al-Jahra bis-su'i, declaring openly something that is evil. Mentioning evil publicly. Min al-qawl, from the speech. What does it mean by al-jahra bis-su'i min al-qawl? The word jahr is from the root letters jim, ha, ra. And jahr is to do something or to say something publicly. It is to do something or to say something publicly. If it's an action, it is to do it publicly so that other people can see it. If it's a statement, it is to say it publicly, it is to say it openly so that other people can hear it. Remember, actions and words, they can be hidden and they can also be exposed to other people. For example, if a person says something in his heart, it's only in his heart, nobody can hear it. But if he says it, then it is going to be known. Similarly, if he shouts, if he yells, if he says those words openly, he announces, even that is included in jahr. Similarly, there could be an action that a person does behind closed doors, privately. Nobody sees it. And the other is that a person does an action such that it is seen by other people. It is done openly in public. So what is jahr? To say or do something openly, publicly, in front of others. So لا يحب الله الجهر. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like that al-jahr should be done. Meaning, someone should declare openly. What? Bisu'i, something evil, meaning evil words. Min al-qawl, from the speech. As I mentioned to you earlier, the jahr can be done of both actions as well as words. It can be done of both actions and words. Over here in the context, it is words in particular. Why? Because min al-qawl has been mentioned. And remember that a statement that a person utters, the words that a person says, they can either be su or they can be khair. They can be good words or they can be evil words, bad words. And what do we learn? The Prophet ﷺ said that if one of you cannot speak that which is good, then he should remain silent. He should not say anything. So Allah does not like that someone should publicly mention that which is evil. Now, what is included in su words? What is included in evil words, evil speech? Give me some examples. Evil words, evil speech. What is included in that? Ghiba. For instance, backbiting someone. Now, what if somebody is backbiting in a private conversation, he's whispering? Is that included in jahr? Is that included in jahr? Yes, because he's voicing it. Even if he's only whispering, he's still voicing it, he's still saying it. What else is included in speech? Evil speech. Foul language. Whether a person says it very quietly or he yells out foul words at another in public. That he humiliates and insults someone in public and he's saying harsh words, he's swearing at him publicly. This is also included in evil words. What else is included? What else is included? Lying, that is also evil speech. Mockery, making fun of someone. Making fun of someone. Openly mocking at someone. And sometimes we think that we're very clever, we're very intelligent if we can pick on other people and if we can make fun of them publicly. But what does Allah say? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like these words. Allah does not like that something like this should be done. That evil words should be mentioned publicly, they should be shouted out, or they should be said out blatantly. And remember that this could be done by any person. Whether he thinks that he's very righteous, whether he thinks that he's very pious. Because sometimes we think that if we're good otherwise, then we can say harsh words sometimes. And we can backbite someone. Similarly, sometimes people think that because they're older, they have the right to yell at those who are younger and humiliate them in public. Because they're older, they can insult someone, they can mock at them, they can yell at them. No. لا يحب الله الجهر. This jahr could be by anyone. This jahr could be by anyone. Whether he thinks that he's very pious, or he's older, or he thinks that he's an elderly relative, he's the older sibling, he's the parent, so he can say whatever he wants. No. It could be anybody. Bisu'i, evil. And this could be in the form of foul words, it could be in the form of backbiting, talking bad about someone. Similarly, false propaganda. And this also includes praying against someone, making dua against someone, that, oh Allah, curse so-and-so. Oh Allah, remove so-and-so from your rahmah, deprive him from such and such blessing. It could also include accusing someone, blaming someone of a mistake that they have not committed. Earlier we read about the incident of Tu'mah, that how the Jewish man was blamed for a sin, for a crime that he did not commit. So this is also what? Jahr bisu. This is also publicly saying out words that are evil. Similarly, cursing someone. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like these words at all. Illa except man zulima, the one who was wronged. What does it mean by this? Meaning a person on whom zulm has been done. A person who has been treated unjustly. The person who has been oppressed. Then he has the right to say that which is su. A person who has been oppressed, a person who has been treated unjustly, then he has the right to say that which is su. But doesn't mean that he can say whatever he wants to now, that now he has the permission. No. This has been understood in a specific way as well. That what? For example, first of all, it has been said that illa man zulim, what this means is that a person prays against the oppressor. Because remember that if a person just makes a dua against someone, that, oh Allah, curse so-and-so, that is what? Making a dua against someone, right? Even that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala disapproves of. Except for the one who has really been wronged, who has really been treated harshly. And he cannot take revenge for himself. So, if in this state a person makes a dua against the oppressor, then this is something that is excluded from this. So for example, there is a person who has been cheated by another. There is a person who has been cheated by another. Now one is that you've been cheated, you go and take revenge. I mean, you go speak to the person, you encounter them and you say, you cheated me, please give me my haqq. The other is that you don't even know where that person is. Like for example, you're traveling in a plane and you realize that your handbag, which was under your seat, is gone. It's gone. Can you go find the thief? No. Can you? It'll be very difficult. You can try very hard, but it would be very difficult for you. Have you not been wronged? Of course you have been. What can you do to help yourself? Nothing. But if in such a case, a person makes a dua against the person who has done zulm on him, then that is permissible. For example, a person says, oh Allah, whatever he has stolen, may he lose it as well. May he not benefit from it. My phone that was in my bag, it just dies. If he tries to sell it, nobody buys from him. So such a dua if a person makes, that is permissible. Secondly, man zulima, the one who has been wronged, then how will he say so? Another is that a person defends himself and takes revenge from the oppressor. How? By returning the same words to him. Like for example, a person is getting very angry at the other and he's yelling at him. And he's saying, you're so silly. And he says harsh words to him. You're so crazy, you're so this, you're so that. Now, a person is hearing all of these words and he says, I think you are. He says, I think you are. Or he says the exact same words to him in return. Now, although he is saying evil words are coming out of his mouth. However, in his case, it is okay. Why? Because he is defending himself. He is not initiating, he is only defending. Which is why we learned that وَلَمَنِ انْتَصَرَ بَعْدَ ظُلْمِهِ, the one who avenges himself after having been wronged, فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَا عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ سَبِيلٍ, then such people, those who have not upon them any cause for blame, meaning you cannot blame them in any way whatsoever. And this is mentioned in Surah Ash-Shura, ayah number 41. A third case. So what was the first case? That a person makes dua against the oppressor. Secondly, that he defends himself. How? By saying the exact same words to him. Now one is that you say the exact same words, and the other is that upon you as well. You're like that. Because a believer is clean and he tries to keep his tongue clean as well. So even when taking revenge, he should avoid using those foul words. He may say, may the same be upon you. Like for example, when the Yahud, they said to the Prophet ﷺ, Assalamu alaikum, what did he say? Wa alaikum. I mean, why should I dirty my tongue? Right? So similarly, a person should defend himself in this way. Thirdly, it has been said that what this means is that a person informs another about the injustice that has been done to him. Why? Why? In order to get help. And in this case, this is not ghibah. Because generally if somebody, if you're talking bad about another, what is it? Backbiting, it's ghibah. But let's say a woman is being oppressed by her husband. She needs help. So she goes and speaks to her father. Now she mentions those things which, if her husband hears, he would disapprove of. He would not like that he's being spoken about in that way, or that incident is being mentioned in front of someone else. So that is the definition of ghibah. ذِكْرُكَ أَخَاكَ بِمَا يَكْرَهُ, that you're mentioning your brother in a way that he would dislike. However, because a woman is mentioning those incidents in order to get help, this is why it is permissible for her. She's not mentioning those incidents just to talk bad about her husband. No. Why is she mentioning that? In order to get help. And this is so that the zalim, the oppressor, can be stopped from his zulm. So that he can be stopped from his injustice. Because if you remain silent, and if you don't say anything against such people, then what's going to happen? They're going to continue in their injustice. So something has to be said against such people. So basically, to summarize, إِلَّا مَنْ ظُلِمَ, the one who has been wronged, how is that going to be? First of all, by praying against the oppressor. Secondly, by returning the same words. And thirdly, by mentioning what he has done to someone else in order to get help. Now, if a person, he has been oppressed by another, and he makes dua against the other. Now he's going on telling everybody about what happened. Or let's say a woman is being oppressed by her husband. Now she goes and speaks to her father, then she goes and speaks to her friend, and then she goes and speaks to her grandmother and her uncle and all the relatives. Is that acceptable? No. But she might say, no, I'm being oppressed, I need help. Is that acceptable? No. She should only speak to those people who can actually help her. She should only speak to those people who can actually help her. Now sometimes, we as friends, people who are working together, sometimes we have problems with one another. It happens. Arguments, disagreements, misunderstandings. Now what do we think? That if there is a misunderstanding, if there's a disagreement, you have the right to go and talk to somebody else. And we say more than what is necessary. Now, it may be sufficient to mention only one incident to get help. But what do? We mention one story after the other, after the other, after the other. We go speak to one friend, we go speak to another friend. We go speak to one teacher, then we go speak to another teacher. Like this way, what are we doing? First of all, we're wasting other people's time. You went to one person and spoke to them for half an hour, 30 minutes. They gave you advice, you didn't take it. You went to somebody else, and you wasted 45 minutes of theirs. You didn't take their advice. And now you go to your friend, now you call your mother. How much time are we spending on just talking to other people about others? Seriously, just think about it. How much time are we spending? How much of our energy is going in texting, in writing emails, in talking on the phone, in having private appointments with people, in order to speak to them about what's going on? It's a waste of time, your own and also other people. And secondly, this is jahr bisu, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dislikes. If you really want help, mentioning one incident, 2 incidents are enough. Talking to one person, 2 people are enough. You don't have to go publicize everything. Because if you do, then this falls under jahr bisu. And it's wasting your time and other people's time. What does Allah say? وَكَانَ اللَّهُ سَمِيعًا عَلِيمًا. And Allah is ever hearing and He's also knowing. He is listening to you, every single word that you're saying, including jahr bisu. And He is alim, meaning He knows exactly what the situation is, what the reality is, whose fault it actually is. Is it your fault? Is it their fault? Allah is listening and He is also alim. So therefore, be careful about what you say. Be careful about what you say. What do we learn from this ayah? First of all, we learn that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala disapproves of and He dislikes that evil should be uttered in public. That something bad, something foul should be said in public. So, a believer should be extremely careful about the words that he uses. Extremely careful about the words that a believer uses. Many times, because we hear foul words all the time, it's not difficult for us to use those same words. Right? What you hear, what goes in your head is what's going to come out of your mouth. So, sometimes very casually we say harsh things, we say rude things, we say foul words which are unacceptable, which fall under the category of jahr bisu. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala disapproves of this, and we should really cleanse our tongues from all types of jahr bisu, all types of evil words, all types of foul words. There is no allowance for any Muslim to say something bad about someone publicly, in front of others. Whether it is in the form of backbiting, or insulting the other, swearing at the other, humiliating the other, or in any other form whatsoever. Hasan al-Basri, he said that one should not invoke Allah's curse against whoever wronged him. Rather, he should supplicate, "O Allah, help me against him and take my right from him." Although illa man zulima, it includes that a person makes dua against the oppressor. But what did Hasan al-Basri say? That Allah does not like evil words to be uttered. Therefore, a person should not directly invoke Allah's curse. Why? Because he should not dirty his tongue. That, "Oh Allah, curse so-and-so, curse so-and-so." It doesn't suit a believer to do something like that. What did he say? That rather a person should supplicate, "Oh Allah, help me against him and take my right from him." That even in this case, the true believer, what is he going to do? He's going to use words that suit a believer, that befit a believer. Because a believer in his akhlaq, he is very careful. Secondly, we learned that about the obligation of avoiding negative speech. The obligation of avoiding negative speech. If you just tell yourself, "I'm not going to say anything that is suit," trust me, a lot of negativity will just finish from your life. A lot of negativity. Sometimes what happens, somebody's cooking and we just can't help but comment. Somebody's doing something, we can't help but comment. Somebody's working, we can't help but comment. Similarly, there are people in the politics, they may be doing something that you disagree with. What happens in gatherings? What happens in gatherings? Typically, everybody's commenting. As if, there are some judges that they can pass verdicts and they can actually make a change. I mean, you are sitting in your basement having a conversation with your friend over tea and watching sports. And there you are commenting about the president and the prime minister and the, this person and that person. I mean, what is your conversation going to do? Is it going to make any change? No. The only thing that's going to happen with that conversation is that those words are going to be recorded in your record. That's what's going to happen. And it's going to create negativity. That all that you're concerned about is, the faults of other people, and you're just mentioning those all the time. So, we learn about the obligation of avoiding negative speech, about avoiding passing remarks and commenting on politics and, such things, especially when a person cannot make any change. Thirdly, we see that if a person, he mentions something bad about another behind their back, then what is it? Ghiba. And what is ghiba? It's a major sin. It is not acceptable. And if a person says something bad to the other on his face, then what is that? Insulting the other, defaming the other, which is also something unacceptable, which is also something that is prohibited in Surah Al-Hujurat, as we will learn. Because sometimes we say that, oh no, I'm very confident, I'm not scared of them, I'm not shy, I can say it on their face. And sometimes we think we're very bold if we can humiliate another person in public. They say one harsh word to us and we can say 3 or 4 harsh words back at them. We think we're very bold. However, both are unacceptable. Whether you say su behind their back or you say it on their face, both are unacceptable. Both are incorrect. And the only case in which jahr bisu is permissible is when a person has actually been wronged, when zulm has been done upon him. And in that case, that is not ghiba. It is not ghiba. And if he says it on his face, then again, that is not humiliating the other, but what is it? It's taking revenge. We learn in Surah Al-Mujadila, ayah number 1, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَدْ سَمِعَ اللَّهُ قَوْلَ الَّتِي تُجَادِلُكَ فِي زَوْجِهَا وَتَشْتَكِي إِلَى اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ يَسْمَعُ تَحَاوُرَكُمَا إِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ بَصِيرٌ. Certainly, Allah has heard the speech of the woman who was arguing with you, O Prophet ﷺ, concerning her husband. And she was complaining to Allah. There was a woman at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and her husband, he had pronounced zihar upon her. And what is zihar? It was a jahili tradition in which a man would say to his wife that anti alayya ka zahri ummi, that you are like to me like the back of my mother. Meaning, just as my mother is haram upon me, similarly you are haram upon me. It was a form of divorcing but not divorcing. So, what happened was that this woman came to the Prophet ﷺ and she started complaining that this is not fair. Look what he's done. Look what he said. I've served him. I have children with him, and if I separate from him, then what's going to happen to my children? And he's taken benefit of my youth, and now he's leaving me. So she was complaining a lot. Now when she was complaining, was that ghiba? It wasn't considered as ghiba. Why? Because she had been wronged. She had been treated unjustly. So the only case in which this is permissible is when a person has been wronged. And even when a person has been wronged, a person cannot utter more than what was said to him. A person cannot utter more than what was said to him. Otherwise, he will become the zalim. Otherwise, he will become the zalim. Hasan al-Basri said, Allah has allowed one to invoke him against whoever wronged him without transgressing the limits. Without transgressing the limits. So for example, a person treats you harshly and you say, may Allah inflict harm upon you and your children. Now what's the fault of his children? What's the fault of his children? Nothing. So if a person is transgressing, even in taking revenge, then he becomes a zalim. He becomes the oppressor. So even when taking revenge, a person should be very careful. A person should be very careful. The Prophet ﷺ said, whatever words are uttered by those who curse one another. So imagine two people who are cursing one another, having an argument. Then he who started it will carry the burden of it. Why? Because he initiated. He said something wrong, and the other person in revenge, he said something. So who started it? The first person. So who's going to get the blame for it? The first person. The second person, although he's saying wrong and unacceptable words, evil words, but because he is saying those words in his defense, this is why he will not be held accountable. Who will be punished? Who will be held accountable? The person who started. Unless the one who was wronged transgresses the limit. If the second person, what does he do? He transgresses the limit. The first person, he made a dua against him only. Now the second person, he makes a dua against him and his children. Now who will get the same? The second person, why? Because he is the zalim. Now, a person might say that, it's always better to forgive. Isn't it? Then why is it that illa man zulim, that a person who has been wronged, he is allowed to, say something harsh in return, or he is allowed to make dua against the oppressor? Why? Okay, because we're human beings. We want to take revenge. Why else? Because his rights have been transgressed. He has been deprived of his rights, so he should defend for his rights. What else? If you don't stop the zalim, then he will continue his zulm. Today he is oppressing you. Tomorrow he is going to oppress someone else. Today he said harsh words to you. Tomorrow he is going to say harsh words to somebody else. Just like children. If they say a bad word and you don't discipline them immediately, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? They're going to continue to use those words for the rest of their life. So you have to stop them immediately. And sometimes it means you have to pray against them. Sometimes it means you have to take some measures against them. Whatever it takes. But sometimes you have to stop the zalim, because otherwise he will continue to do his zulm. We learned that at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, a person came to him and he complained to him about his neighbor. That his neighbor, is very unfair, he oppresses me, he's very unjust towards me. So the Prophet ﷺ told him to put his household items outside the house. He said, take up all of your stuff, all of your luggage, and put it in the street. So he did that. And when he did that, every person who was passing by, he asked him, what's going on? What are you doing? Why aren't you inside your house? Why is all of your stuff outside on the road? And then he complained about his neighbor. So what happened this way? The neighbor, then people started telling him that you shouldn't do that. Everybody advised him. Why are you doing this? What are you doing? Look at your neighbor. He's being forced to move out of his house. So this way, the oppression of the oppressor, that was stopped. So generally, as a rule, you don't say something that is bad. Whether it is praying against someone, or it is using harsh words against them, or it is complaining to other people. You don't say these words at all. They're unacceptable. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like them. However, if a person has been wronged, then he may do so. Why? To stop the zalim. We also learn from this ayah that because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ends the ayah with His names, Samir and Alim. So when a person is making dua against the zalim, or a person is defending himself, or a person is complaining to others about the zulm that has been done upon him, he should remember that Allah is listening and He knows the reality. You may be able to deceive the other person and make him believe that really you are being treated unjustly, whereas it's possible that you are the one at fault. Remember that Allah is listening and He also knows. So, be very careful about every single word that you utter. We also learn from this ayah about the justice of our deen. The justice of our deen. How? Where do we learn that from? Where do we learn that from? Illa man zulima. That the person who has been oppressed, he should defend himself. And the zalim, the oppressor, he should be stopped. Justice should be established. Justice should be supported. We also learn from this ayah about the beauty of our deen. About the tahara, the cleanliness of our deen. That how clean our deen is, that no evil words should be uttered by a person. No evil words should be uttered, especially in public. Because if you publicly say evil words, then what happens? What happens? Other people, they start using them as well. They start using them as well. So this ayah teaches us about the cleanliness of our deen, the purity of our deen, that evil words even are not tolerated. Evil actions, obviously they're not tolerated, but evil words even, they're not tolerated. That this is how clean Muslims should be. That not just in their actions, but even at their tongue. Recitation.
لا يحب الله الجهر بالسوء من القول إلا من ظلم وكان الله سميعا عليما.
We see that sometimes people think that righteousness is that, patience is that if somebody slaps you, on one cheek, then you present the other cheek to him that, come and slap me on the other side as well. However, this contradicts what has been stated in this ayah. That the zalim, the oppressor, he's not going to be supported. Rather, he should be stopped. We learned, كُونُوا قَوَّامِينَ بِالْقِسْطِ. Maintain justice. Maintain justice. And stand up for justice. So this is part of standing up for justice, that if somebody oppresses you, then you take revenge. In the sense that you do whatever you can in order to stop the injustice of the zalim. Especially when you can do something. When you cannot do something, then there's no point in complaining. There's no point in saying harsh words. Because you can't really make a change. But when you can, then you should try to do something to stop the zalim. And when we say negative words, whether it is in the form of backbiting or it is in the form of cursing other people, then generally such people, they have low self-esteem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala discourages us from using evil words and rather be positive. Why? So that we can be confident people. Just imagine if one person is saying all the time, I'm so tired, I'm so tired. Can they actually do something? No, because they're constantly reinforcing that I am tired. They won't be able to do anything. And if you just tell yourself that no matter how tired I am, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to say that I am tired. Then what's going to happen? Even when you're tired, you will still do what you're supposed to do. Because when you say negative things, then those words even affect you. They affect other people around you. So saying evil words is also something that is discouraged in our deen.